Hey viewers, my name's Cara. It is the 17th of April, the 17th day of Vlog Every Day in April, and I'm gonna tell you what I did today. I went to work at the tea parlor, woot. We were kind of busy. It was me and the other girl because she's off of school for spring break, so she was working with me, and the things went really well. We were really busy. Our first couple of tables tipped us really low. And I don't know why. I honestly, a lot of the time, don't think it has anything to do with our service. It just has to do with the kind of tippers people are. Some people just don't know what a good tip is. There are lots of articles on it. I recently read an article about it that compared tipping for lots of different types of positions of tipped people, like everything from servers to valets to bag boys, or, you know, people who carry your bags, whether they're boys or girls or otherwise. And they looked at what is considered a good tip in those lines of work, and they looked at what an average tipper actually tips. They asked everyone, like, what they think of the person if they tip really low, and it was everything from, I don't really care, it's whatever, to you're the worst person ever. And then it also looked at the percentage of that person's income from the job that is dependent on tips. And it was really interesting. If I can find the article again, I wonder if I shared it or if it was someone shared it with me. I don't remember, but it was really interesting because it was like some of the people who answered, you're the worst person ever if you don't tip well, the tips are only like 5% of their income. So it's like, what? Whatever. They should care a little bit less than, for example, under servers, it was like, you're the worst person ever if you tip low, but it's 95% of their income is dependent on the tips. And, you know, I'm not saying their entire income, but you know what I mean, like, tipped workers rely on tips as part of their wage. They don't get paid minimum wage. The tips make up part of that. Other things it actually did look at, some of the positions that also accept tips do get paid minimum wage, and those they were kind of like, oh, a tip's really nice, and if you tip well, you're, you know, super awesome, but if you don't tip that well, it doesn't really matter because they're getting paid minimum wage anyway. Like, I remember when we went to England, servers there are paid minimum wage, so you're not supposed to tip, and that was something that we had to learn before we went over there. Because here, we would tip, and over there, it would be like, what are you doing? So anyway, that was just really interesting. So after those first few tables today, everyone else tipped us pretty well. Everyone left happy though, which is really the important thing. And then after that, I came here and heard this weird hissing noise coming from somewhere, and I was following it around because I couldn't figure out where it was. You know, like I would hear it, and then I would go 1 foot one direction and it would be gone. And then I'd hear it again, and I'd go back the other direction and it would be gone. And I figured out that it was coming from under the floor at the bottom of my stairs, so I was like, okay, I'll go to the basement, see what it is. But I didn't hear anything when I got to the basement door. So I realized it was literally only in that specific place, which is several feet over from the basement door. So I had to actually open the basement door and go down there to see what it was, and it was a pipe that had sprung a leak and was spraying like a mist all over, and it was the sound of the mist that I heard through my floor. It was very audible. So the landlord came over a little bit ago and fixed the leak in my pipe. And he said they are going to get the water tested, but he thinks it's a pH balance problem because that's what his plumber friend said. He didn't say anything about it being copper, but I really think they're going to find that there's a large amount of copper. Anyway, I also wanted to, before I end this video, talk a little bit more about a typical dinner for me, because I made a dinner tonight. Last night I just went out and got a veggie wrap from somewhere along the way, back from choir practice at church, because I didn't really have a lot of time. So last night I just had a veggie wrap. Oh, also today at work, this ties into it, we had one woman who's vegan. And she asked, you know, what could she have on the menu, so I served her so that I could talk to her about it. Because basically a lot of the stuff on our menu is not vegan. You can pretty much just do like a greens salad with fruits and vegetables and without cheese, and 2 of our dressings are vegan. We have 3 of them actually, because we have a pomegranate vinaigrette, which used to be our house dressing and is going to be our house dressing again now that it's spring. Over the winter, our house dressing was elderberry Zinfandel vinaigrette, which is also vegan, and we have a golden Italian dressing that is vegan. We also have other things though, like, which are not, because they contain either milk, like ranch dressing or blue cheese, or egg, like Thousand Island dressing. I learned that today. Thousand Island has egg in it. So I offered her that, or I said that I usually sometimes have a flatbread sandwich with olive oil instead of the usual cheese spread that we have on it, and just with some roasted veggies on top. But I wasn't sure if she would eat that because not all vegans eat bread which may have dairy products in it. Because the last time I offered that to a vegan, she was like, no, I don't eat bread, it has dairy in it, blah, blah, blah. So I was like, that's understandable. I just wanted to offer it because I eat it, because bread's my exception, like I said, one of my exceptions. But I was talking to this woman and she was like, why would the bread have milk or egg in it? That's weird. It shouldn't have that in it. So I went and I checked on the dinner rolls that we have that we give with our salads, and they are vegan. They only have wheat and I think soy, actually. A lot of things have soy in them. So I was like, oh yeah, actually our rolls are vegan, so do you want a roll? And I just won't give you butter. So she had rolls. And then I told her, I was thinking I might have just been remembering from when I was gluten-free for a year, a lot of gluten-free bread, the gluten-free bread that I bought anyway, the Goodbye Gluten brand, is gluten-free and it's also dairy-free, but it contains egg. So I was thinking, I told her maybe that's what I was thinking, that I was just assuming that bread has egg in it because my bread for the past year has had egg in it. And she said, yeah, usually it doesn't have egg or milk or anything. And I was like, oh, okay. So we have the flatbread that I mentioned, but we don't have the label for that. We don't get it in, like, packaging from the store. It doesn't come, like, directly from a store, so it doesn't have, like, nutrition label facts, whatever. So I don't know about that, but then I checked the other breads that we have that we use for our sandwiches, and they all have non-fat milk in them. So the other 3 breads do have milk, and our wheat bread has milk and honey. So there you go. But anyway, so I learned today that maybe I should be looking at the individual bread that I buy. The flatbreads that I mentioned I have that I make my wraps with here when I make dinner are vegan. They contain wheat and soy, but no dairy, no egg, no animal product. So that was cool. I was just thinking that it was an exception, but here, come to find out, the flatbread that I've been buying is actually vegan, so that's cool. So my dinner tonight was entirely vegan. I want to share it with you. So I bought, as I mentioned before, I have these Near East quinoa blends. I just get these from the grocery store. They're a couple of bucks. It's for when I'm being lazy, because I also have quinoa and rice and things like that that I just boil and mix up myself. But these have little flavor packets. That's what I use when I'm being a little bit lazier and I don't want to take as long. So this one was made with white, black, and red quinoa and brown rice, and then I added some more of my own white rice to it because I wanted it to go faster and absorb the water faster. Honestly, I put too much water in it and it was taking forever. And then olive oil. And you just cook that for a bit, and that's what it ends up looking like. And I already added my sweet pepper rings to it. Like I mentioned, I always put my sweet pepper rings in everything. So that gets cooked up. Doesn't take very long. And then what I did, I'll have to put a picture of it because I already ate that part, but this is the flatbread that I had. It's Italian herb flatbread, and it's actually in a shape such that it's easier to wrap. But this is vegan. It has 9 grams of protein. Then after I was done with the wrap, I got out my spinach and mixed up a little spinach salad, added the mixture to that, and then added my sweet pepper rings to it, which is when I added it to the mixture. So I basically have a couple different dinners every time. Because first I make it and then I have it in the wrap, and then I have it with spinach as a salad and my vegetables. And I usually put the vegetables in the wrap too, but today I didn't. I just did the quinoa, rice, blend, and spinach in the wrap. And then after that, if I don't want to add more spinach to it, or kale, I often use kale too, but the rest of my kale got mushy, so I'm using up the rest of my spinach that's still good. Which, by the way, if you have any tips for keeping greens fresh longer, that'd be great, because they come in these big bags. It's either I get a little thing that costs more, or a big bag that costs less. So obviously I'm going to get the big bag, but I can't eat it as fast as it gets mushy. I think it's the settings in my refrigerator, because at my brother's dad's house, my big bag of kale lasted me forever. And I don't know if I was just eating more of it then, but it seemed like it lasted a lot longer then. So I don't, and this is a brand new refrigerator, so I have not changed the settings at all until just now. I turned down what I think is the humidity knob, which would help. And I don't know if it should be colder than what it is. It's only at the normal settings. So I don't know. So I'm trying to figure that out. If you have any tips, please feel free to let me know how you keep your greens fresh longer. And then after that, I usually will just literally eat the rest of the mixture with a spoon, with nothing, or I can save it for tomorrow. But I don't have a microwave, so I heat everything on the stove. So I tend to just make what I'm going to eat at the time, or if I refrigerate it, I heat it back up on the stove the next day, or I eat it cold. It's still good cold. Then it's more like a, I don't know, more like a salad in itself, really. Anyway, yeah, so that's what I did today, and that's plenty of a video for today, so I will see you next time. Don't forget forget to be awesome, blessed be, and goodbye.